that keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. Still enjoying that big win on Thursday night. And, it's so fun when the 49ers can find ways to win. And everyone kept saying in chat yesterday, gritty 49ers win and gutsy 49ers win. And that is exactly what it was. But there were also players that stood up in the biggest moment in prime time and made plays. We have guys who have raised their stock, and they're backup 49ers who had to step up. Now, it wasn't just backups, right? There were key veterans as well, guys that you expect to continue to play well. The guys like Fred Warner, that are going to go out there and they're going to make plays. Kyle Juszczyk continues to do some things, and he's been more involved in the offense this year than he has in the last couple years. And so what we're seeing from the 49ers is effective play, but you had to have guys step up. You were missing so many players. You look at the wide receiver room, no Pearsall, no Jawan Jennings. You're already without Brandon Ayuk. You don't even have your young rookie either. So what do? Well, you rely on guys like Kendrick Bourne, like Marquez Valdes-Scantling, like Demarcus Robinson, and the guy pulling the triggers, Mac Jones. So the 49ers had to count on backups at several key positions to step up and make plays, especially for the offense, in a game where they were going to have to score 26 points to defeat the Los Angeles Rams. And yes, they've done 26 this year with Mac Jones at the helm against New Orleans. But make no mistake, this Los Angeles Rams defense is much better. Now, it took an extra, 10 minutes for the 49ers to get to 26, but it was a good performance. This offense showed up, especially early in the game, scoring 14 unanswered points. That was so pivotal for the 49ers' success because they got ahead and they were just able to hold on. And the Rams got up right there with them. But it was so good to see the 49ers find a way to win again. And it's been, different ways to win. But the offense and the defense have been able to come through in 4 of the 5 matchups this year. And it's complementary football. The one game where it went completely awry for 2 of the 3 of the part of the complimentary team was week 4 against the Jaguars. That's when they lost. Special teams couldn't get it done. Offense couldn't get it done. They had too many turnovers. They had too many mistakes. And that's ultimately how the 49ers got their one loss. When they have played complimentary football, when they've been able, to get at least 2 of the 3 together, they've been able to win. Well, last night, I would have to say all 3 did pretty well. That was not an easy offense to go against with Matthew Stafford and Kyron Williams and Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. You talk about talent. And then the guy calling the play, Sean McVay, so much respect for him and what he does. They were good, and they schemed up some things. They gave the 49ers defense some problems, especially with some of the switches and adjustments that the secondary was going to have to make. And they went after Upton Stout a little bit. They went up after Marquis Siegel. They went after the rookies, and it worked. But the 49ers overcame. And so in this episode, we're going to talk about the stock-up 49ers backups who rose to the occasion. It's going to be a fun one. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening to audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating if you feel like I deserve it. And, of course, this is brought to you by FanDuel, the title sponsor of 49ers Cutback. So I want to start with Mac Jones because Mac Jones just really needed to have a good game. And one of the things about Mac Jones is he's a pocket quarterback. And so everything he does comes within the pocket. Now, I love the fact that Kyle Shanahan went to him before the game and said, hey, let it fly. And Mac Jones said, you don't have to tell me twice. That was the exact thought process going to this game. You weren't going to win this game if Mac Jones wasn't willing to pull the trigger from inside the pocket and get rid of the football and make good decisions. And he did. This was his best performance of the 3 that we've seen this year. He had an interception. He had a strip fumble where he held on the ball a little bit too long in the strip fumble. This game, he was really doing a good job getting rid of the ball. I mean, until overtime was the first time he was sacked. And if you look at it, I don't know what he does from in the pocket to get rid of the football. Because if he delivers the football somewhere, it could be intercepted, or if he tries to throw it away from inside the pocket, it's more than likely intentional grounding, and you don't want that. So he did what he was supposed to do. He ate it. You live to fight another day. I thought Mac Jones was in full control of this game, and I thought he did a really good job. And I think we can say this as clear as could be now. Mac Jones is one of the best backup quarterbacks the 49ers have had under Kyle Shanahan. I can't say the best because we've seen backup quarterback like Brock Purdy step in 2022 and lead the team almost to the Super Bowl. And at that time, he was the backup, so I can't say he's the best. But Mac Jones is playing really good football. And that's exactly what the 49ers had to have. And this is what they envisioned when they went and got Mac Jones, was let's bring him here. We know he's a capable starter. And, Kyle Shanahan was asked last night, is Mac Jones a starting quarterback in this league? And he said, yes, I've always thought so. And I think that is the proper way to look at it. He's one of the best 32 quarterbacks in the NFL, and the 49ers have two of them. They have Mac Jones and they have Brock Purdy. And I'm not going to get into quarterback controversies or anything like that. I don't really care about that. All I care about is whoever's out there play well. And right now, they need Mac Jones. Brock Purdy's on the shelf. He's probably going to miss the Tampa Bay game. You had to have Mac step up. And guess what? He did. And he played well. Mac Jones completed 33 of 49 of his passing attempts for 342 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a passer rating of 100.9. His passing TDs gave him 6 this season and 60 in his career. 342 passing yards marked his 6th career game with 300 or more passing yards, and his first since he threw for 316 yards versus Philadelphia in September of 2023 when he was with the New England Patriots. So he's hitting some high marks. He threw the ball a lot more than I'm sure they were ever expecting, but they also weren't expecting to play an extra frame. They still ran the ball 33 times in this game, and though it wasn't effective, it did enough to keep the balance between, passing the football and running the football. But I love the mindset. Let's get the ball in Mac Jones's hands. Right now, defenses are loading up to take away McCaffrey. They're taking away our staple plays. Okay. Jake Tonges, Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Juszczyk, Marquez Valdez-Scantling underneath, Kendrick Bourne, right? It was just anyone and everyone. Boom, 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 boom. I love it. That's exactly what you have to do. This also marked the 5th time in Jones' career that he registered 300 or more passing yards and 2 or more TDs. So he's a guy that he's played well in the past, right? He's played really well. And now we're seeing it. He's in this offense and he really fits. This is the similar situation to Sam Darnold. You get into the right offensive scheme and you can be a successful starter. There's a reason Mac Jones was drafted number 15 overall by the New England Patriots. The problem was he played well for them, but overall it wasn't a great system fit. He played the best he could. And, it's funny, Kendrick Bourne had his best season of his career when he played for New England when Mac Jones was a rookie. So he led the opening drive, which was 8 plays, 72 yards, with a 6-yard touchdown to Jake Tonges, which I have to admit, that was such a great play. From design to the way it manipulated to the defense to how Mac Jones got rid of the football so quickly, and Jake Tonges ran a really good route. And he didn't have to do a lot. He just had to run up the field and make himself presentable. He did. Mac Jones, boom, quick delivery. Christian McCaffrey moves, and this is the Christian McCaffrey effect. And if you want to know why McCaffrey is playing a lot and guys like Garendo and Brian Robinson aren't, this is one of those exact plays. McCaffrey goes in motion just about 3 or 4 steps to the side with side shuffles. It moves both linebackers, and it allows Jake Tonges the horizontal window to be open. The safeties don't collapse. The linebacker drops where he moved, and next thing you know, you have a nice window for Mac Jones, and he knew it as soon as the ball was snapped that he was going to Jake Tonges because it opened up. So it's the design of the play, it's the effect of Christian McCaffrey, and then it's the understanding of the offense from Mac Jones to see it, know what defense he's going against, and get the ball to Tonges, and Tonges took care of the rest. It was really just a overall good process there inside the red zone. 49ers still aren't where they want to be in the red zone. 205, not there. I do believe that if Mac Jones wouldn't have got hurt on that one drive, I think they probably would have punched it in, because I don't think they would have went run, and then tried to throw on third down, even though Demarcus Robinson was open in the back of the end zone. But I don't want to give Mac a lot of hate on that. He was under pressure in the moment. He just had to get it out to Tonges. If he throws it to Demarcus Robinson, who's in the progression, it probably would have been a touchdown. But it's tough when you're under fire and you're under pressure. He was really quickly. And I got to give Mac Jones all the credit. He's stock up. Right now, a lot of teams around this league wish they had Mac Jones at quarterback. And a lot of teams would be willing to trade him, and absolutely not. The 49ers will not trade Mac Jones, because Mac Jones affords them the opportunity to be a competitive football team. And when you're without Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, George Kittle, all these guys, and you go in and offensively you put up 26 points on a pretty good Rams defense, what else can you say? And it starts with Mac Jones, and he did a great job. I also want to talk about Kendrick Bourne, because Kendrick Bourne played so good in this game. And it really came off of a game where he looked really bad against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think that the drop started with kind of a tough pass where he's not really expecting to get it. It's supposed to go to Pearsall or Jennings, and then he's kind of the outlet, and the ball got on him a little quick from Brock Purdy. And I thought that kind of steamrolled, right, the night of him kind of dropping some big passes, including a big third down against Jacksonville, that would have presented not just a first down, but probably a lot more than that. But he bounced right back. And in this game, minus the one drop on third down, which was big, that was coming right after the turnover by the Los Angeles Rams, where Blake Corum couldn't handle the fumble. There was an opportunity for the 49ers to go up 3 scores. And if Bourne would have caught that, it would have been really close to a first down. We know Kyle Shanahan was so aggressive on fourth down, he probably would have went for it, and they would have been within a half yard. Maybe he would have got it. So there's a likelihood the 49ers could have got points on that drive, and he dropped it, but he didn't drop very many. The guy was really good in this game. And I look back on it, and I remember that first pass that they ran. They ran a mesh concept, the first pass that Kendrick Bourne caught. They ran a mesh concept across the middle. And coming across, Kendrick Bourne catches it underneath. And the 49ers got a long way to go. They had just had a penalty. And Kendrick catches it. And Kyle Juszczyk is right there to get him a nice little block and sets him free. And then he did a lot after the catch. And I thought that really got him rolling. Kendrick Bourne is one of those guys that if he gets momentum, he can absolutely roll. And he did. 10 catches for 142 yards. By far his best game ever as a 49er. And he does make plays when he plays the Rams, right? We remember the big 3rd and 16 that he caught. And so he does do that. But he had that 35-yard catch on that run. And it was a lot of yards after the catch. And we haven't seen as much yak from this 49ers offense this season. But Kendrick Bourne was bringing it. He was making good catches. He was getting first downs, good third down catches. He was targeted 11 times and he had 10 catches. The one drop. That is a successful Kendrick Bourne. And what does it do for this 49ers offense? Well, number one, it helps stabilize things until they can get some of their guys back. Pearsall's dealing with the knee. Will he be ready for Tampa Bay? We don't know. Juwan Jennings is dealing with an ankle and a rib. Is he going to be ready for Tampa Bay? We don't know. But what we do know is Kendrick Bourne is playing like a starting NFL wide receiver, at least in this matchup. I thought he did pretty good in New Orleans as well. The Cardinals, he was okay. The Jacksonville Jaguars, he struggled. But this was a coming out party. And the likelihood is Brock Purdy's not going to be ready to go versus Tampa Bay. Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne have a chemistry. It was illustrated in 2020 in Mac Jones' rookie season, or 2021 in his rookie season. And we've seen it continue to grow. And you can just see it. He feels comfortable when he sees 84. But one thing I do love, I got to go back to Mac, is he don't care what your number is, right? He just gets it to you. He finds you. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, Valdez-Scantling, boom, right? Get you the ball. And Valdez-Scantling had a catch in this game for 9 yards over the middle, and they actually targeted him 3 times. So I love the fact that they're just going out there and finding the open man. And Kendrick Bourne's a big reason. And it's not just the catches. It's the energy. It's the run blocking. It was a lot better in this game from him against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Him and Luke Farrell definitely struggled, but the blocking wasn't as good. But I thought he did good in this game. And I want to give some credit to Demarcus Robinson as well. It wasn't a big impact. He had 3 catches for 39 yards, but some of them were good catches. And we're seeing Demarcus Robinson work back into this offense. And that's the thing about Kendrick Bourne and Demarcus Robinson. Are they wide receiver 1s in the NFL? No. Are they veteran wide receivers who could be wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3 in the NFL? Yes. So Demarcus Robinson, the back shoulder throw, some of the plays he makes over the middle, there were some opportunities that he didn't get the ball that they're going to get to him. Demarcus Robinson's going to have a positive impact on the San Francisco 49ers football team in 2025. He is a really good route runner. And I think that Kyle Shanahan feels comfortable with any one of those 2 guys running routes in this offense. The same thing with Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and I know he's not making plays, and I'm not putting him in the stock-up category like I am with Demarcus Robinson and with Kendrick Bourne, but his ability to understand where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be there, to go in motion when he's supposed to block when he's supposed to, those are things that an offensive play caller loves. I want to know that all my guys are going to be where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. And there's one thing I could say about MVS, he is blocking his behind off. And so I am a big fan of this veteran-laden group. I think it's been very important for the 49ers to have these guys, and it's only going to get better, right? If you can keep these guys healthy, once you get back Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall, and shoot, imagine when Brandon Ayuk comes back. They're overloaded. They're going to have to make some sort of a roster move. That's how talented they are. Kendrick Bourne eventually is going to be what? Wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, and he just went off for 142 yards. Phenomenal. So, I mean, what is a weakness when it comes to depth could be a strength in several weeks, which, I mean, we keep saying, and then the 49ers have some more injuries, but it's really nice to see it. I think Demarcus Robinson, that back shoulder throw, catch that he made along the sidelines, that was phenomenal. And so I'm looking forward to seeing the things that he can do within this offense. And I thought that he was a real stock-up 49er in this. And Jake Tonges, and, it's funny, one of my, during my game preview show, I always do wow, that's bold predictions. It's always fun. And the very first one I put was Jake Tonges TD. And I just really thought that he was going to be able to get into the end zone. I thought Demarcus Robinson was going to get one too. So when they threw the one and he just couldn't get his feet in, I thought for sure, they're going back to back. But D-Rob didn't get it. But Jake Tonges has just played so good in, replacing George Kittle. And you can't replace the production. But 7 catches for 41 yards and the touchdown. And they feel comfortable throwing in the ball. Kendrick Bourne got 11 targets. Jake Tonges got 11 targets. Like, that's how they feel about him right now. And think about how good this offense is going to be when George Kittle comes back. And we didn't even talk about him as a part of that pass catcher group when we were talking about wide receivers. But when George Kittle comes back, now you've got 2 legitimate passing threats in George Kittle and Jake Tonges. You have 2 really good blockers in George Kittle and Luke Farrell. And you can mix them up, however, because Luke Farrell is not inept when it comes to catching the ball. Is he as good as Tonges or George Kittle? No. But if the ball gets to him, he's going to catch it. He might not get any yards after, right? He's not like Tonges where you're setting up screens and you're doing things to get him the ball in space the way you do with George Kittle. That's not what you're going to do with Farrell. But you need a catch over the middle. He can handle that. He did that in this game. 1 catch for 8 yards. Nearly got a first down. So 49ers, you could see it. They just beat one of the better teams in the NFC. And, there's a lot that goes into that. I'm not saying if they lined up again today that they would, beat the Rams again. Maybe they would win 3 out of 5. I think it's really tight. But that was with that current roster. What's it going to look like when you have Kittle back and all your weapons on offense? It could be a bigger win. Who knows? But what I do like is the fact that they got guys stepping up. And Jake Tonges has been stepping up since George Kittle went down in week 1. Kyle Shanahan never hesitated to call a screen pass. And this is one of the things we've talked about with Kyle Shanahan for a while, is sometimes he expects more out of his players than probably he should. but he puts them in positions where they can excel if given the opportunity. And 100%, you got a situation where Jake Tonges has excelled. And now their tight end room is figured out. And that was a big question all offseason. Do the 49ers have a third tight end that's good enough? And give credit to the 49ers. They did. They developed Jake Tonges over the last year and a half, 2 years almost. They let him sit on the 53-man roster and pretty much do nothing. And now you're seeing the fruits of their labor. And he's doing all kinds of things. He's not just catching the ball, but he's blocking. It's superb. And I got to shout out Christian McCaffrey. And here's why. I don't normally talk about guys like Fred or Christian because they're great, right? Fred, Christian, Trent, they're not really stock up guys. But I'm going to put it in this category. There has been so much conversation about Christian McCaffrey losing a step, not being as effective. And we've been coming on here and talking about the fact that there's just not as many lanes. He can't get into the open field where he can show his dynamics. And then you see that swing pass in overtime, and Kyle hits Christian McCaffrey out in the flat, and he's running behind Demarcus Robinson, and Robinson sets up the good block. They did a great job illustrating it on the broadcast, and he's waiting for Landman, and he hits him, and he blocks him, and McCaffrey makes that jump cut and makes the cornerback miss, and you're like, yep, that's the Christian McCaffrey that we all know and love. And McCaffrey continues to be an absolute weapon, over 100 yards again of offense. And right now, when you're missing all your weapons, Christian McCaffrey is still a pain in defensive side. They come into the game to stop Christian McCaffrey, and Christian McCaffrey accounts for over 100 yards every single week between running the ball and catching the ball. He's a fantasy monster. And he's 8 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown. And how about this? I talked about the red zone earlier with Jake Tonges in that play. How about the second touchdown? The 49ers go with a big set. Christian McCaffrey lines up goes out to the slot. Him and Jake Tonges are the two guys on the left side with McCaffrey in the slot. And they get the Rams with 2 linebackers on them. Landman on Tonges, and then I can't remember who it was for sure. I think it was Reeder on the inside on McCaffrey. And as soon as you see that, it's automatic read, baby. And they got that look. Kyle Shanahan gets the personnel grouping against the look that he wants. McCaffrey one-on-one with linebacker. Boom, touchdown. We've been talking about matchups all year long. McCaffrey versus linebackers is a matchup problem every single time, and he gets the touchdown. McCaffrey averaged over 10 yards per reception in this one. He wasn't just a check down merchant, but he was making plays. I mean, it's so fun to see. And so I do think it's stock up McCaffrey. If you are thinking about McCaffrey, on his way down, start to rethink that. McCaffrey's still doing it. He's still good, and he's getting a lot of touches in these games, and he's making the most of them. And if you want to make the most of your betting opportunities, bet with FanDuel. There's lots of great, games this week that you can bet on, from the game that's going to be overseas. You got the Minnesota Vikings and the Cleveland Browns that won. The Minnesota Vikings are favored at 3.5. The over-under is 35.5, which could be a pretty good bet considering the Cleveland Browns defense is really darn good. But lots of games this week to bet on. Lots of props, parlays. You can do a parlay builder, anytime touchdowns. Lots of cool stuff. Check out FanDuel if you are looking to bet. But I want to get back to the stock up 49ers. And this one might surprise some people, but I'm going with Kyle Shanahan because there has been so much conversation over the last 3 or 4 years that Kyle Shanahan struggled without Deebo Samuel. He struggled without his weapons, right? You can't win without Deebo, can't win without George Kittle, can't win. And you know what? Deebo Samuel hasn't been here all year. George Kittle has played a quarter. And the 49ers are finding ways to win. Starting quarterback, backup quarterback, doesn't matter. And part of the reason I want to give Kyle Shanahan some love on this one is I talked about those 2 red zone trips, the very first 2. And those are the 2 that they score the touchdowns. Absolutely schemed up, absolutely took advantage of Chris Shula's personnel groupings and how they were going. I think that he's doing a very good job right now. He's coaching the best he possibly can. Are there decisions that still get questioned? Absolutely. I think a lot of people are still going to look at that third down at the end of regulation and say, hey, why didn't you throw it? And I thought he gave a really good answer for it. I really did. He said, hey, we had that safety a couple weeks ago. Didn't want that to happen. He goes, I wanted them to use the timeout because I felt like if they didn't have any timeouts, the worst that would happen is overtime. But if they had a timeout, Stafford and them could go down the field and potentially get a touchdown. I get it. And so his reasoning is fine. I just think that he has done such a good job of figuring out a way for this offense to score points when they really have to. Lots of 2-minute drives, lots of things to execute down the stretch. And I think that Kyle Shanahan's done a really good job. He's managed this football team pretty darn well to help them win. You don't win close games without good management. And I thought he's done a really good job. And we've talked about Robert Saleh before. And the fact that they have them both is huge. But I just wanted to give him a little bit of love because I do think that that was very important what he did. Now, Dominic Pooney as well. I got to talk about Dominic Pooney. This was a bounce-back game for Dominic Pooney. Stock up. He looks a little bit more healthy. He's running around a little bit better. He blocked well in this game. I don't know what the PFF scores are going to look like or any of that. I just know that from what I saw from Dominic Pooney, it was much improved over the last few weeks. And if Pooney can get it back together, and they talked about Trent Williams is getting more healthy, if they can get those guys together, this offensive line can continue to grow. And so I thought it was a very good game from Dominic Pooney. Run blocking seemed a little bit better. Pass blocking was definitely a lot better. So you stock up for Dominic Pooney, and it's coming at the right time. Colt McKivitz, he had some penalties. The first one, I understand. Mac Jones left the pocket. He wasn't expecting. He didn't let go when he should have, but he was set up really nice. And, I know he got beat by Byron Young and gave up the quarterback hit. It wasn't a clean game for Colt McKivitz. And what's interesting is over on the OG show on Patreon, Horst actually talked about that matchup of Byron Young against Colt McKivitz. He was worried about that, the speed element against Colt McKivitz. So spot on there analysis. But yeah, I mean, I think that, Colt McKivitz is playing good. Dominic Pooney's playing good. Your right side is pretty good. And the 49ers tried to run behind it a couple of times. Didn't always work, but I love the fact that they're believing in it. So 49ers don't have all the answers on the offensive line right now, but Dominic Pooney is definitely an answer that they can count on. So stock up for Dominic Pooney. Now I'm going to flip to defense, and I'm going with Bryce Huff. He continues to put pressure, and I know the sack was on a 6-man pressure. I know they were blitzing a safety off the edge, and they looped him inside, and they found an opportunity to get him home. But they're using his attributes, his speed, his athleticism, and his ability to get to the quarterback and close, and Matthew Stafford had no answer for it. And Matthew Stafford is one of the best quarterbacks against the blitz in NFL. I mean, it's not even close. He's so good. But they absolutely dialed it up, and he got it done. But the reason that I have Bryce Huff in the stock up 49ers is because of all the guys that the 49ers have on the offense or on the defensive line. He continues to be the most consistent at getting to the quarterback. There were a couple near misses for Bryce Huff where he almost got sacks. And so when you're looking for somebody that can step up in the, when you don't have Nick Bosa, I feel like Bryce Huff has continued to do that. I felt like the 49ers, once they started dealing with injuries, right? Kalia Davis had the broken hand. And if you haven't heard the update, according to Ian Rappaport, he's going to have surgery on his hand today, and he could miss 2 to 3 weeks. So we'll see what the 49ers decide to do with Kalia Davis, if they just leave him on the roster. I don't know how many guys you can put on the IR. You only have so many that you can bring back. So that's going to be a question. But you also lost Yetur Gross-Matos with the hamstring. And if it's a hamstring pull, Gross-Matos is probably going on the shelf. And so they're going to have to make a decision. And we all know they're probably going to look around the league to see if they can bring in a defensive end. Now it's becoming, super important to do that. But Bryce Huff is continuing to be the number one guy with Nick Bosa out. And everyone knows he's the number one guy. And he's still finding a way to impact plays. And the pass rush is still not as good as it was with Nick Bosa. No question about it. Was it better than Jacksonville? I felt like it was. Watching it back, seeing Alfred Collins get a contact here, our quarterback hit, seeing Sam Okuwanu put some pressure on the quarterback, Yetur Gross-Matos, and we'll see what happens with him. Bryce Huff, I thought that they did the best they could when they were healthy as they could be. As that game went on and the players diminished and they were getting extra reps, yes, pass rush wasn't there. But I got to give credit to Bryce Huff. Renardo Green, I thought he bounced back. Question marks about Renardo after some of the games, New Orleans especially. It felt like he struggled. He had a bad penalty in the Arizona Cardinals game. Then he was hurt and missed Jacksonville. And so I thought there was a lot of questions, but I thought he rebounded really well. I thought he played good in this game. And the 49ers need a guy that can go compete opposite of De'Amari Lenore. And really the Rams, they didn't they didn't really go after Renardo Green as much as they went after Upton Stout and Marquis Siegel. You knew you were going to give up catches to Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, but it was all about holding them down. And besides the Puka Nacua 1-yard touchdown, they stopped those guys. It was Kyron Williams who got 2 touchdowns, right? It was the other guys that were making plays because you were effectively taking away some of those wide receivers. So when it came to red zone time, 49ers did a pretty good job. So I wanted to give some respect to Renardo Green for the work that he put in and the fact that he's out there competing. And then last but not least, Alfred Collins. And the reason I want to give the young guy some props, and I've talked about him before, he continues to play more reps and he continues to get better. And that play that he made around the goal line on Kyron Williams, the punch, the disengage from the offensive lineman, put his offensive lineman on the ground, and then punch that football is such a big play in this season. And if the 49ers go on, and I do believe they're going to make the playoffs, if they go on to make the playoffs, that play is going to be one of the plays you remember because that helped catapult the 49ers to win that football game and be able to go 3-0 in the division, which is a huge start. And I love that Alfred Collins continues to compete. And you're going to watch this film, and there's going to be bad plays from Alfred Collins, and there's going to be good plays. But we've been talking about this for a week. What do we want from the rookies? We want more consistency. Have 2 good plays and then a bad play instead of just 1 good, 1 bad, 1 good, 1 bad. No, let's have 2 or 3 good plays and then 1 bad. It's all about building consistency. And I feel like Alfred Collins is building consistency. I talked about the quarterback hit on Matthew Stafford. We talk about the strip fumble and recovery down at the goal line, preventing a touchdown by Kyron Williams. Because if he doesn't make that play, Kyron Williams is in the end zone for a touchdown. And the 49ers are going to have to go down the field and get a touchdown of their own. And they didn't have to because Alfred Collins made the play. And so it's stock up for the young guy. It was a tough day for some of the rookies. It was a tough day for some of the rookies. But when it came down to it, those rookies stepped up in the last seconds. Mikael Williams was a big part of that 4th down stop. I love those guys flying around. Marquis Siegel had a tough game in coverage. He was always right there. He just couldn't quite make the play. On that 4th down, he comes flying in. Chase Lucas, Fred Warner, De'Amari Lenore, Marquis Siegel closing it down. And then when it looked like Kyron Williams might be able to get away, D. Winters came and cleaned it up. Phenomenal. So lots of stock up 49ers, lots of things to be excited about. And the 49ers are going to play again in 9 days against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Really looking forward to it. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening to audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network. Please give it a 5-star rating if you feel like I deserve it. This episode was brought to you by FanDuel. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.